What I want to walk you through today is what I would do if I wanted to leave my job, but I wasn't sure how. What I would do first. And why do we start here? Why do we start with changing who you are or changing your approach to work before we think about leaving? Here's why. Because if you've been working for a while, if you're a fairly senior person, you have likely found yourself repeating patterns or finding environments that seem to have a lot of similarities. And this is not about shame or judgment. This isn't saying that you're doing anything wrong. But we do tend to have patterns that we bring into relationships, we bring into work situations, we bring into maybe any changes that we think are going to be the thing that transforms our lives. Some people move towns, they move cities, countries, states. I guess that's the one in between. They move around trying to find this thing that they feel like they weren't able to find before. Or people switch jobs looking for this thing that they feel like they weren't able to find before. And what I want to do is I want to keep you in your job. Before you quit, I want you to stay in this safe environment where you're making money, where you're getting a regular paycheck, where you know the landscape before you jump. Because once you leave, you're going to be back into a situation where you have to prove yourself. You have to show extra value to kind of, make it feel like, all right, I belong here. You need to meet new people. There's so much that you have to navigate when you change your circumstance, when you change your situation. So what I want to do is I want to help you find patterns, look at some of the things that have been repeating in the jobs that you've had. For example, I had this pattern of landing in work environments where I usually had this one narcissistic coworker. And it was really painful for me to be working with people who would act like they were recognizing me and act like they could see my gifts and talents. That was sort of the superficial charm factor. And then when it was time for me to dig in and sort of do it my way, it threatened them. They made it seemed to them that I might take their job, or the way I was doing it was too different. So then I would get into this situation where they would like clamp down and micromanage me. So again, I'm like projecting this whole thing. Like this is what was happening outside of my brain. What was happening inside of my brain was a lot of insecurity, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, questioning myself, not saying what I really wanted to say because I was nervous or insecure, feeling like, well, maybe they're right about me. Maybe my approach isn't the right approach. I wasn't trusting myself. So then I would go home defeated. I would spin on what should I have said? How could I have said it? And I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating well. I was, just trying to appease all of these feelings that I really wasn't in touch with and didn't know how to solve. So my brain kept telling me every time I kept landing in these places with these micromanagey people, I kept telling myself, it's the industry, it's the company, it's the country, right? I moved countries to try to solve this problem. And when I moved countries, I ended up in the same place facing the same demon. That demon was ultimately me. And again, not in a shame or a judgmental way, but I really had a 20-year career where I was battling this same pattern over and over and over. And this pattern was I would get into a company feeling really confident and secure and feeling like they recognized my talents. And I would leave that company defeated, having lost my confidence and feeling like I was not capable of anything. I wasn't good enough. So I want to change that pattern for you before you leave, before you have to start over, before you have to meet new people and get used to a new environment. I want to help you learn my clear framework. And what this is a 5-step process of really understanding how you can change the way you think about situations. That sounds like a lot of theory and not a lot of practical, real life ways of applying this information. My technique is based on cognitive behavioral therapy, and I have been coaching using these methods for the last 6 years. Prior to that, I was using these methods. I didn't know there was a name for it. I didn't know there was such a thing as cognitive behavioral therapy. And once I dug in and was learning how to be a coach, and in my coaching certification program, I realized, oh, wait, I've been doing a lot of this work already. So basically what it is just noticing without judgment, what are your thought patterns? What are some of these ways of thinking that are creating certain emotions and certain actions in your life? How do we become aware of these thoughts and then understand where our thoughts tend to take us? Where are we going? Are we going under a bridge? Like, are we going to the worst case scenario is that I'm going to be terrible. I'm going to fail. So this is the work that I do with people. We really just get you so strong and so grounded that you can manage any situation with grace and with ease, with joy. You can make it feel so much easier than it does right now. And by doing this work, you're going to get unstuck. And ironically, a lot of the clients that come to me that say, no, Jaime, I want to leave my job, help me do it, those people end up staying. Why? Because they have new tools to apply to their situation.